Across the 7 continents in the world, especially here in Africa and West African sub-region, we try to gather the news and bring you perspective in the news to help you make informed decisions with the news that we bring you here and analyze here on this table. Well, this is our way of welcoming you to another beautiful edition of Headline Reviews here on Afro Connect TV. I am Godwin Sunday. I am here with my colleague
Adewale Olashopo. I'm trying as much as possible to pronounce your name, my name, the way you pronounce your name, and have that kind of feeling.
You need to have that feeling. When you want to pray, you need to take your shoulders off.
Okay, I need to take my shoulders off. Well, I think Chinatu would take me better.
Yeah, I wish she's here on this table.
At the table, but sadly she can't be here. Good morning to you, our viewers at home or wherever you are in the world. It's good to be back here this morning.
Yeah, Wale, so good to be back. But then, Wale, there are a lot of conversations around the news this morning, making the rounds this morning in the news. And of course, today, first is the Nollywood industry, where we have a lot of sad news coming out from the Nollywood. For this year alone, we've seen quite a number of deaths in Nollywood, and just earlier today, we've just seen the death of Zulu, also the Adigwe's death this morning, and it's a sad one for the Nollywood. I don't know what's going on in the Nollywood. The last, I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about Junior Pope on this table, and also prior to that time, we talked about Mr. Ibu's death also on this table. I don't know what's going on in Nollywood, but then our heart goes out to all the Nollywood stakeholders at this point. We really sympathize with the industry at this point, Wale.
Of course, we do sympathize with them, and nobody can deny that this is a trying time for the entire Nollywood industry with the series of deaths that we've witnessed. And some people would say it's not only the Nollywood people that are dying. A lot of people are dying in Nigeria, but people are these people are in the social media, in the world's eyes, and we can see them and monitor what they are doing. There are other professions. We have doctors that are dying. We have lawyers that are dying, but these people are in the eyes of the world, and we can't just but sympathize with them and also commiserate with them at this trying time. But looking at the series of deaths that we've seen so far, there are some of them that are avoidable, such as the issue of Junior Pope that drowned at that Anim River in the States while I was trying to go on shooting. But coming to this Adigwe that died as well, it's quite an elderly person, and it's somebody that somebody would expect to have. It's somebody that not expects death from him, but somebody that has lived life and is lived a fulfilled life, looking at his trajectory and what he has contributed to the industry. Immense contribution so far with his entire life. So I think he's had a full, fulfilled, robust life, and we can only commiserate with his family and also to wish them that he's done so well, and God will be with him as he continues his journey to the greater beyond. But looking at the industry itself, a lot of things has to be put in place. We talked about the issue of safety, issue of making sure that they have bodies that guide them, because of course there are some people that are part of the different association, as we call them in the Nollywood industry, but it's also, there's a freedom of association. You can decide to be a part of one association or another. So if we can have a single body that regulates the industry to make sure that things are done appropriately, life jackets are provided as and when necessary in such instances. How then do you hold them accountable? How do you hold producers accountable? So that conversation is still ongoing. But this death is also coming as a shock to the people in the industry.
It is, and for me, I think also we should look more on the insurable interest within the sector. Let's have more insurance policies being covered for that sector. If it means that for us to even, let's talk about royalties in the Nollywood industry. We don't see an actor producing the movie or featuring in the movie and gets to live from the proceed of that movie till his demise. We need to start looking at those royalties. For example, if you produce a movie, or that's all you're able to produce for your lifetime, you should be able to get proceeds from that movie. As long as that movie is being aired, is being watched, there should be some modalities, so that we won't get also having multiplicity of production when it has to do with Nollywood industry. But then we can only advise the Nollywood sector at this point.
I'm smiling at your proposition because a lot of producers would say you're antagonizing them right now because you sign the contract, you come on the particular production, you do your work, you get paid, and you leave. But if you look at what you said, it's also perhaps we can say it's a welcome development because look at people like Mr. Ibu and some other Nollywood actors, perhaps people that they generally called old Nollywood. They've contributed immensely, even during the time where there was no money, a lot of money to make from movie production in Nigeria at that time. And this is their old age. This is a time that they need to be cared for and protected. And we see a lot of them. Some of them don't have houses. Some of them do not have a lot of medical care. That
and they come online to even ask for phones.
And for ask for phones. And some people say that it's not my business. You did yours. You lived the life that you wanted to live, and it's not my business whether or not you can take it. So, but we are still seeing intervention by some other actors, guild actors.
Yeah, actors in Nigeria.
Nigeria. There's still some of them that come out to also support in one way or another, but conversation continues to remain that a lot of things wrong in the industry and has to be improved. And I think this is a way the government can also come in and support them because this is a thriving industry in Nigeria that is making wave. And
I know. Remember, we were second in the world. I was second, right now, I think you were told second in the world. Second in the world. We're beating Bollywood again.
Yeah, Bollywood.
Well, that's interesting.
Exactly.
Well, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll be delving into the headline reviews in full. Please go nowhere as headline reviews continues in a moment. Welcome back, and we'll begin with the first story for today, and we're starting up with the Punch newspaper, where the Central Bank of Nigeria has released more dollars as Naira weakens to 1,300 Naira to the dollar. Well, the Punch has it that the Naira depreciated further against the United States dollar at the official market on Tuesday, closing at 1,300 Naira to a dollar. This came as the Central Bank of Nigeria stepped up efforts to stem the tide, selling more dollars to Bureau de Change operators. The Apex Bank said it was set to sell $10,000 to Bureau de Change at 1,021 Naira per dollar, as directed the operators to sell at a spread not more than 1.5% above the Central Bank of Nigeria's rates. Well, at this point in time, we've seen, I think last week or the week before that, we saw the central bank coming out to say, hey, we're giving out $10,000 to the Bureau de Change to be able to reduce the cost, to force reduction of the dollar in the market. And when that happened, when that rumor went into the market, I don't know if it's a rumor because right now we're seeing the central bank coming up as of yesterday again to say, okay, we're giving, I don't know if it's another $10,000 or what. But then again, we've seen the Central Bank of Nigeria do this sometimes 2 weeks ago, and this forced the dollar to radically reduce compared to the Naira. And for the last 2 weeks, we've seen a drastic reduction of the Naira to the dollar. And whether you like it or not, Nigerians have been jubilating. The only part of the conversation that we're not jubilating about is that the dollar is going down, but commodities and price of commodities in the market still were almost static. They were not going, they were telling you, I'm not going nowhere. I'm here, we die here together. So we're looking at all of this Bureau de Change policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria and also the relationship they've been able to enjoy. But then, this policy doesn't seem like what is working right now. We've given Bureau de Change $10,000 so that they can reduce the dollar to 1,021 Naira. But we're still seeing the dollar still selling us at yesterday for 1,300 Naira per dollar at the official market, not at the parallel market, but the official market. We still hope that the central bank could be able to do something, able to ameliorate the sufferings that Nigerians are currently faced with, and also be able to work out modalities that we can ensure that we have a much more robust economy with the dollar reducing to approximately probably 900 or 700 Naira on that economy, Wale.
Exactly, that's what Nigerians would want to see happen, that the Naira would strengthen and fall. But let's put all of this into a bigger context of what the administration itself wishes to aspire, or their intent to gain from different policies that we've seen right immediately after President Tinubu was inaugurated at the Eagle Square. One of the first few policies that he was able to enact was to bridge the gap between the official market price and the parallel market price, to ensure that the irregularities, the exchange rates would be merged together, so that we wouldn't have people profits from this huge gap. There was a time we had 200 naira difference, or even 300 naira difference between the official market and the parallel market, but that itself has been worked on. Now we see that another policy that the central bank made was to float the naira.
Yeah.
They stopped defending the naira in the international community. Once that was done, we see that there was a time the naira weakened disastrously. We had over 1,400, 1,300 as at that time, even way beyond that. And Nigerians are saying, okay, maybe the next 1, 2, 3, 4 months, or even before the end of 2024, we're going to be looking at the dollar, naira to dollars at maybe 2,000 naira to $1. And people from the government and some other sympathizers of the Nigerian government administration said perhaps these were people that are bad fortune tellers. They don't want something good for Nigeria. That's why they're giving bad predictions about what would happen with the naira. And thereafter, we saw that the naira began to strengthen, and people still came out with their criticism that Nigeria is defending the naira. You said you're not going to defend it. You want to put it on flotation. You want the market economy to determine the strength of the naira, to compete itself without us defending with our external reserves and some other monies that we have in coffers. So we had all of that argument go up, and then we saw it strengthen over from 1,300, 1,400, 1,400, 1,300, 1,200, 1,000. 20 something, just a little over 1,000 naira. People were expecting, okay, maybe this is even going to 900, 800. Maybe in the next December we're going to be exchanging for 500 naira to a dollar. But that itself has a lot of work has to be done. We talked about the issue of cost of production in Nigeria. Nigeria has to be a producing state. We cannot continue to import things into the country and have containers leave empty, and we expect that the monetary policy or fiscal policies that are being implemented would translate into the economy. Because people are saying, okay, it's even 1,000 naira, it's 10,000 naira to $1. Am I even getting the value for it inside the market? I'm going to the market and buying tomatoes and buying pepper and buying a lot of things, and it's not reflecting in my pocket on the things I'm buying in the market. So whichever the way they want to do, we're still defending, not defending. That's an argument for the central bank to make, but it must also translate to make sure that the lives of people become easier for them, that they do not go through pain. President Tinubu said baby steps, small baby steps of pain, whichever way you put it, but we've gone through that enough. May 29 is fast approaching, a year after his inauguration. People are expecting more.
Yeah, people are expecting more, Wale. I wanted to take another angle to that story, but then time is not, we don't have luxury of time.
We do not have luxury of time.
Right now, so.
And we will go ahead to the next newspaper. This is coming up from the Leadership newspaper. Abuja's lead British International School shot over bullying. Lead British International School has been shut down for 3 days following a viral video of bullying in the school involving some students. Leadership earlier reports that its response to the disturbing viral video depicting a female student being bullied by fellow students, the school said that it had taken definitive actions over the incident. The management of the school expressed its disapproval of the incident and confirmed the commencement of an investigation. There was outrage on social media following the circulation of videos showing a female student from the school being harassed by a fellow student in what appears like an interrogation session. So the whole social media went in a frenzied conversation over this video that we saw online of one student physically assaulting another student. There were a lot of reactions to it, and we've seen that the government are swinging into actions and shutting down the school right now. But the questions still remain about the issue of bullying in our schools or even in a larger society. If I could digress a little, go into the issue of Mohbad. Bullying was also part of what the poor soul of this young man witnessed before he died, and he came out on social media to express his plight so many times, and people are like, okay, actions are now being made after he has died. Can we begin to nip the bud before the situation would go out of hand? Because bullying is like a norm in the school right now, in schools in Nigeria right now, and it's not even about maybe public schools or private school. This is a big private school in Abuja, and we still have this go on. I think we need to begin to sanction schools, because that is the only way the government can make sure that they curtail this form of action wherever it is happening, whether private or public schools. When we begin to sanction school, make sure that they pay heavy price if these things are, if school is found wanting of bullying. Look at the case of Oromoni in Lagos and some other students that we've seen in the past few years, the issue of bullying, the issue of negligence in school as well. So if, for instance, let's talk about the bullying that's happened in the school. There's some schools that would want to close it up, that, oh, this is just an internal matter, the debate in school, that, okay, we can just close this and debate it in school and just punish them, sanction the students and give her one semester or one time suspension and all of that. But that's enough. That itself is not enough to make sure that this is curtailed. And there are some schools that they would not want the news to go out, because this is what we see that we're debating. There are still some schools that are, there are some students perpetrating these ill vices in schools that are not known, and there's some schools that are covering it as, okay, we need to protect the image of the school, we need to protect the identity and what we stand for and whatnot. But if you're protecting the image of the school, which is protecting the lives of the students themselves, I think the Ministry of Education has to sit up and sit tight to make sure that schools, teachers, students found wanting for this crime are punished heavily, to able to make sure that we serve as a deterrence for other schools, for other pupils, for other teachers that may be engaged in this, because this is a very sad news. This could have led to a death of somebody, and after the video came out, we saw other videos of students of the same school, of another boy who was being beaten by some other group of students. So I think this is very depressing to see. Some people would even go ahead to say that some students that are found wanting are covered by the school because their parents are rich. Once the parents come to school, they just, okay, maybe you want to build a football pitch and you want to renovate something, they just give the money and everything is covered up. That should not be allowed in our school system in Nigeria. What exactly are we telling to the international community? That we build students that are good in their academics but bad in characters? That has to be worked on.
Yeah, interesting, Wale, but let's look at this conversation also from another perspective right now, and that's the perspective of moral justice. The first question we're asking right now is, we want the school to be able to uphold its morality when it comes to how fellow students are being treated in the school. But then again, we are asking questions such as, at what age is a child supposed to bring phones to the school? Because when I watched the video, it was more of two fighting. Like it was a crowd surrounding the girl, whether the girl, male or female, I can't tell right now. But then we saw other students filming, and we asked, is there a moral justification, or is there a standard right now in Nigeria which we are not aware of? An age limit which we can give children's phones to school. Now, giving children's phones to school, won't this automatically affect their learning, their course of learning within the school environment? That's on one hand. Two, the question we are asking again at this point is, if this was to be a local school, let's use a school somewhere down the rural community. If we have a local school of this magnitude, both that have, Wale, I don't know if you remember those days when in public schools where you see two schools will fight, two schools fighting on a regular basis. Every Friday you're booked for to fight. So yeah, with all of those incidents, we never saw the government intervened. Now this is British International, British International School, and we're seeing the government swiftly intervening. Question now begs for answer, and one of those questions is it because it is lead British International School, that's why the government is swiftly intervening in this school? What happens if this school was not to be a British International School? Would the government swift into action? Now, this now brings us to that point where we begin to rate how children are being treated in schools. Now, when we talk about bullying in schools, we are asking again, another question that's begging for answer again is the fact that at what point do we draw the line in schools that a child is being bullied? At what point do we draw the line? Who can this child talk to when he's being bullied? Now, are the teachers being intimidated by the students because of their parental background? We need to look at these conversations, because you've raised a very salient point where a child can be bullied and the parents come up and tell you, I'm going to sponsor the school to do this, do A, B, and C. But then we don't begin to look, what role is the counselor playing in these schools? Do we have enough psychological counselors that understand the child psychology to be able to bring this bullying thing to a very short end? Then, how do we now comb bullying? Because right now we're seeing bullying on the peak, on the rise, especially within private schools in Nigeria. Use the case of Chrisland, for example, that we lost a child in Chrisland. Now, we're now looking right now, we've seen a lot of private schools, it has become a recurring thing in private schools. So questions that are begging for answers right now is the fact that are our private schools and also international schools becoming a breeding ground for bullies in the country? Should we then say that Mohbad's case that you've raised right now was a case where Larry, or I think it's Larry, Sam Larry went to a private school? Should we look at it from that perspective? Then he became a graduate of bullying system, and he began to bully Mohbad because he was from a public school. Are we breeding local, are we breeding children from private schools that are trained to become bullies? Because the kind of confidence that children have in the private school children have right now is disturbing. So look at it from the moral perspective and moral stand, moral justice. Are we serving this to ensure that, because right now I remember, I can still recall that in most private schools right now, they say you can't discipline a child. In most of these schools, you don't need to invite their parents to come talk to them, or you take them to a room and try to pacify and massage their ego. What are the disciplinary measures being put in secondary schools right now to ensure that we are able to give children a moral perspective of what the Nigeria stands for, that we are not bullies, Nigerians are not uncultured, Nigerians are not Nigerians are not don't use the word, Nigerians don't have what they call, we're not barbaric. We have a system which we use to curtail excesses in Nigeria. I think this should be part of the curriculum for the government to be able to implement. But Wale, this is my one token for the government, even though they've shut down the school at the moment.
Exactly. It has to go beyond that.
Yeah.
We have to move on to the next story.
Yeah, let's move on, Wale, because right now that issue is really annoying. But then we need to move to Premium Times right now, where we have another fantastic and interesting story. Well, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission transfer regulatory oversight of electricity markets in Ekiti and Ondo State. Well, the Premium Times have it that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has directed the transfer of regulatory oversight of the electricity market in Ekiti and Ondo State from the NERC to the Ekiti State Electricity Regulatory Bureau and the Ondo State Electricity Regulatory Bureau, respectively. The move is in compliance with the amended Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electricity Act of 2023. Recall that the Commission had earlier on Monday directed the transfer of regulatory oversight of electricity markets in Enugu from the Commission to the Enugu State Electricity Regulatory Commission in an order marked NERC/2004/032. The directive, according to National Electricity Regulatory Commission, shall take effect from May 1st, 2024, in accordance with the Electricity Act 2023. Now, Wale, let's put this into perspective. The federal government of Nigeria, as at last year, was able to put modalities and framework in the electricity sector to ensure that states will be able to generate electricity and be able to distribute same within their state. Now, this gave room for the breaking of the autonomy of distribution of electricity in Nigeria. Right now, states can as well distribute electricity and produce, and they can generate and distribute electricity. That's what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration was able to do seamlessly in the electricity sector. Now, again, we saw that was backed with the Electricity Act of 2023, which gave them rights to be able to effect some modalities. Now, we're seeing also the NEC coming out also to ensure that internal states at this point have more of bureau, electricity regulatory bureaus that can regulate the electricity within their state. And we've seen so far few states in Nigeria have been able to set up these bureaus. And right now, the one for Ondo and Ekiti have been able to take responsibility for their electricity. And we hope to see more other states swift into action and have a balanced and robust electricity distribution within that state. But then again, we need to look at this holistically from the point of view of the power grid right now. We're saying that we're still operating a national grid that has been collapsing over and over again. We are asking the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, it's not just to regulate the electricity regulation, but then what structures and modalities are we putting in place to ensure that we are able to have constant power supply? If you say we're giving people in band A this so and so hours of light in a day, what are the modalities put in place to ensure that these power supplies have been put in place? And what are the sanction measures being put in place to ensure discos are being sanctioned when they default in whatever way? What modalities have been put? Can Nigerians know these modalities? Can it be spelled out in A, B, and C so that we know that I know my rights? It's been televised, it's been broadcast on all publications and also broadcast on all broadcast media, so that we know that, okay, at this point in time, this is what is expected, this is what I should do, and this is what should be. Now, this will solve these all issues of regulatory framework. Right now, we are saying that if Ondo State does not generate enough power, if Ekiti State does not generate, you hold people to meet. But then it is not reflecting the 36 states. What modalities are being put also at this point to ensure that the 6 states of Nigeria have a uniformity when it comes to the bureaus? And what modalities are there to put that the structural frameworks are effectively displayed for us to see? Well, a lot of questions are begging for answers right now.
Exactly, a lot of questions are begging for answers, and you've said a lot. And just to reiterate some of the salient points that you've mentioned, the issue of electricity generation we've had from the national grid, we've talked about that, and from the generation to the distribution company. The distribution was privatized in Nigeria, and from that we've seen how it has been taken from discos, from the Abuja Electricity Distribution, Ibadan Electricity, and some other distribution companies that have taken over the distribution of electricity in Nigeria. And we've seen some of them failed in their responsibility of distribution, and we've seen their creditors taking over their assets, such as banks and some other AMCON has taken over some of these distribution companies. And these are the things that we've seen in a distribution company in Nigeria. And even for the generation, the amount of generation, the capacity that we generate is not the one that is being transmitted in the country. You've also mentioned the issue of states generating their own electricity. It might interest you or even Nigerians to know that there's some universities in some states that are generating their own electricity. There's some communities that are generating their own electricity, and it's independent of the complete national electricity framework that their state or the country has. So these are the things that we need to put in place to ensure that there's an independence in electricity generation, there's an independence in electricity distribution across all states in Nigeria. We don't have to have a unified system such as we have in the policing system in Nigeria that we talk about federal police. The conversation was going on was it yesterday or 2 days ago, and different Goodluck Jonathan and some other past president were like, it's time already to have state policing in Nigeria. We had the Inspector General of Police in Nigeria said it's not yet time, the issue of funding, the issue of, so everybody will have things to say about whether or not they support or against it. And I think that also applies to electricity in the country. They would have different people that support or against it, but let's see what states can do and how the capacity can be improved from what we've witnessed with implementation. But that's a conversation that we'll have to leave for another day, because I'm sure we're running out of time.
We've run out of time, because I wanted us to take this the issues of EFCC confirms, that's for the Sun, EFCC confirms the exclusive arrest of an ex-aviation minister, a person of Mahdi Sirika. I wanted us to take that conversation, but then we're already out of time right now. Viewers at home, this is how far we can go today on the show Headline Reviews. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. And of course, I'm not saying Wale thank you because we are co-hosts. Wale, it's always fun doing this with you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. And next time we look forward to Chinatu.
Yeah, we look forward to having a full house.
to have a full house to be here.
Well, viewers, this is how far we can run today till we come your way. Same time, same station tomorrow. Remember to follow us on all our social media handle already displayed on your screen. I am Godwin Sunday. Do enjoy the rest of your day.